Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. It's my delight to welcome you here, however you're getting here, whether you're on StreamSpot or Zoom or Facebook or YouTube. We're delighted that you're here. I'm quite certain you're in the right place, and we're going to be celebrating Shabbat together in just a moment. First, a couple of announcements. This is, in fact, a singing community, so we highly encourage you to sing along with us as we're singing, whether you know the words or not. Right, we have some traditional tunes. It's one of the reasons we sing the same songs every week is that you can get the hang of things. But if you're just trying it out, do what we were doing before. Just hum or say la 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 or da 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 da. That's fine too. And wherever you are, even if you're on mute, we can feel that you're joining in with us, and you'll have a better experience of the service as well. So the other thing is we have a prayer book that looks a little bit like this if you're in person. It's a Siddur Sim Shalom. If you're on Zoom and you don't have one of these, we actually have a link on there that you can open up the prayer book in a virtual way and join us that way. If you're local and you need a prayer book, let us know and we can find a way to get one to you. In the meantime, we're going to be starting on a page, and that is page number 13. This is a song that we like to start Shabbat with because we're talking to the angels, as it were, the angels of Shabbat, these emissaries of heaven who come to us on Shabbat, bless us, guide us through this holy time, and then when Shabbat is over, depart, but I'll be back next week. So let's start with Shalom Aleichem on page 13, page 13.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Machem LeShalom, Malachei Yashalom, Alachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch LeShalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zetchem LeShalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yay, 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 la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, yay, 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 ya la 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 la, la 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 la. Zetchem LeShalom, Malachei Yashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And in addition to raising our voices in song, we also increase the light that's in our homes and in our hearts with the candles for Shabbat that are right behind Cantor Ruth. And before we go any further, Cantor Ruth is going to say the blessing over those candles.
Take a moment to bring in the light. 1, 2, and 3. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Now, as we continue with Kabbalat Shabbat, this is a part of our service where it's like we're climbing a ladder. That the sages of Sfat many years ago said, you can't just jump right into evening prayers on Friday. It's a different kind of feeling. So we need to elevate ourselves. We need to raise ourselves up from the schmutz of the working week sometimes to reach that holiness. And so they said, here's a sulam, here's a ladder, and they dedicated special psalms and some songs that they wrote themselves for this purpose. And we're going to start with the first one, and that's on page 15, Luchuna Ranana.
Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena l'Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria לצור אישנו, נקד מפניו בתודה. נריה, נריה לצור אישנו, בזמירות נריה לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. כי אל גדול אדוני, ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים. לכו נרננה 40 שנה, עקוד ודור. ואומר עם תוהי לבבם, והם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי ואפי, אם יבואון אל מנוחתי. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שיר לאדוני כל ארץ.
Page 16 begins, Shir Laranai Shir Chadash, sing to God a new song. The irony is that this is one of the songs that we sing every week, but that is a lesson that even songs that we sing all the time, we can make new because we've had a different kind of week. We're bringing to it a different kind of experience. We can try a new tune, or maybe we could try singing along for the first time. That would be a new song as well. So whatever we have in our tradition, it's okay for you to engage with it in a way that it feels new.
לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים באמונתו. You may take a moment to go through pages 18 And 19, pick your favorite words, your favorite paragraph. לפני עוני קיבל לשפוטו. אדוני מלאך ירגזו עמיש. משה ואהרון וכהנים ושמואל, וקוראי שמואל קוראים אליו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. מזמור לדוד, page 20. אבל לאדוני בני אלים, אבל לאדוני כבוד ועוז. אדוני למבול ישב וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני יעוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. We continue with the same nigun, the same melody at the bottom of page 20. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך תתיר את צרורה קבל רינה עמך סגרנו תרנו נורא אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך תתיר את צרורה קבל רינת עמך סגבנו טהרנו נורא נא גיבור דורשי ייחודך כבבת שמרם ברכם טהרם רחמם צדקתך תמיד גמלם חסין קדוש ברוב תוכה נהל עדתך יחיד גאה למענך פנה זוכרי קדושתך שבעתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו יודע תעלומות אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך תתיר את צרורה קבל רינת עמך סגבנו תרנו נורא תרנו נורא
This song leads us into the pinnacle of the Kabbalat Shabbat collection, and that is Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi was written, again, just a scant few hundred years ago by people who were familiar with the Psalms and familiar with the tradition and still saw Shabbat as a completely present and personal thing. And they welcomed in Shabbat like one might welcome in royalty, but also like one might welcome in an intimate friend. And so we sing the song Lacha Dodi on page 21, which means come, my beloved.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יר עלי, יר עלי, יר עלי, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יר עלי, יר עלי, יר עלי, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. בראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה,
פני שבת
נקבלה.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת
נקבלה.
נקבלה. ומקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצאי מתוך ההפכה. רב לך שבת ועמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך בי. על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קורבה אל נפשי גאלה.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה,
פני שבת
נקבלה.
נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בא אורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה,
פני שבת
נקבלה.
נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה יאללה יאללה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי, בך יחסו אני ימי ונבנתה עירה לתילה והילים שיסו שעשייך ורחקו כל ובלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן על קלה לך דודי
לקראת קלה בעיני שבת נקבלה
ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה
לקדורי
לקראת קלה
בני שבת
נקבלה
לקדורי
לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לקדורי לקראת קלה
בני
שבת נקבלה לקדורי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לקדורי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לקדורי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה
The last rung on our ladder, our final psalm for this part of the service, is a special psalm dedicated just for Shabbat. It's on page 23, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Let's join together. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי אסון ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני לפועלך, במעשה ידיך, במעשה ידיך ארנן.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מעולם מחשבותיך. ומה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מעולם מחשבותיך. יאי לי 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 יאללה לי יאללה לי יאללה לי לי יאללה לי יאללה לי יאללה מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. If it's not welcome back, welcome for the very first time. We're really glad you're here, and I hope it's next time it's welcome back for you. So we're going to begin a brand new book, and that book is Leviticus. And so I wanted to give a little bit of an introduction to Sefer Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, before we get started. And don't worry, there's plenty of Leviticus. We can get into the nitty gritty some more tomorrow, and details for many weeks to come, and many B'nai Mitzvah kids who have been so lucky as to get Leviticus for their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah Torah portion. What I want you to do, though, is put yourself in the shoes of the people who were around when Leviticus was first coming on the scene. So we've come a long way as a family. We started off with just sort of a dynasty of uniquely sensitive people, not perfect people, but people who are attuned to something greater than themselves, something so great that it could only be singular and indivisible. And they were weird. they were very odd for their time and place, worshiping only one God. Whoever thought of that kind of thing? But it was a family tradition that they passed down through a few generations, even into the generations when they had to immigrate, when they had to flee as refugees from their native land that had been devastated by environmental changes, that is, Canaan, into Egypt, the one place that could feed them. Luckily, they had an inside guy. His name was Joseph. He was the great-grandson of their progenitor. And it went well for a while, and then it didn't. And then, for one reason or another, the ruler of Egypt, who was probably having troubles of his own with his empire, said, I can't solve these problems myself, but at least I can make all my people think they're not my problems. And I can speak badly about one minority within our neighborhood and say, you know what, it would be a shame if this other people who don't look like us, who don't cook like us, who don't pray like us. And all he had to do was start pointing that out. And then people caught on and they said, well, maybe if they're so different, they're not going to stand with us when it's time to stand up. Maybe we should put a heavier burden on them than everybody else. That was us that I was talking about, by the way. You'll hear more about it next week when Passover starts, I promise. So let's, I don't want to spoil Passover, so let's jump ahead a little bit. There were plagues, there were 10 of them, and then we got to go, right? We got to leave Egypt. We walked for about 7 weeks. Also, that's Omer, not going to spoil it. We walked for about 7 weeks. We get to the bottom of this mountain with a pressing question. We can do whatever we want. What should we do? How should we live our lives in a new land with no master over us, except whoever it was, who we still can't see, who only talks to one guy, Moses? How are we to live? And God said, wait by the mountain for 3 days, and I will tell you. And God did. And God said the first 10 things. And then God brought up Moses to write down the rest of the things. And there were some great things, right? We had lots of great rules. We had the recognition that we had been strangers in the land of Egypt, and that stank. So we were never allowed to treat anybody else like that. There was also rules about no cheeseburgers, which was weird. They hadn't even been invented yet. But they said no mixing meat and milk. So there were ethical rules, and then there were what we might call ritual rules. But there were lots of good lessons on how to live your life. And then somebody asked the question, but what about religion? Right? How do we distinguish ourselves as a tribe? What things can we do that identify people like us? What are the ways in which we make this invisible connection with God visible? And so God said, well, I guess, unless we want another cow made out of gold, we better figure out how to do religion. In fact, this might take its own separate book. And so we have Sefer Vayikra. God called out to the priests. And it's called Leviticus because it relates to the Levites, to the priestly caste. But essentially, it's a sub-manual. We've gotten some rules on how to live our life. How do we spend our Saturdays? Right? How do we get together for special occasions? And how do we do it the same way every time? And what are the clothes that we wear? What are the ways in which the special people who conduct these things are supposed to act? That's Leviticus. And they were still starting over. And that is scary. Right? And so when they laid out the rules, they made a lot of it very familiar to them. They said, you remember how the Egyptians sacrificed animals? Remember how your ancestors, even back to Abraham, and before 10 generations before him, Noah, and 9 generations before him, Cain and Abel. I won't go into how that ended, but all the way back, people have sacrificed animals. So if you're going to have a brand new religion, you can't do it without sacrificing animals. And so in order to make it work, in order to make the people comfortable, and man, they needed it, let's make it look a lot like it looked before, with a couple of changes. And these are important ones. I tell you what, instead of like your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather Abraham sacrificing any place he felt like it, you can sacrifice in one place. Right now it's a tent. In the future, it'll be a really nice building, but only one place. And instead of just anybody doing it, however the Spirit moves them, I mean, that sounds nice, but let's have it just be one person. Let's have it be the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. And there'll be other people ministering to the high priest and sous chefs and fry cooks and stuff, but he's the main guy. And let's make it so it's only in one family. So there won't be people competing to see which family is the holiest. We're just going to make that rule right now. One family, one person, one place. But it still looks like what you're very familiar with. In fact, Maimonides notes that the sacrifices were probably, and he has different opinions on this depending on what age of Maimonides you're reading, but his idea was that these sacrifices were a developmental step that we needed, because if God had instituted a wholly new way of doing things, it wouldn't have stuck. The people would have been bereft, and they would have dissolved into the dust of the wilderness. God forbid that would have been our fate 3,000 years ago. So we took what was familiar, but we elevated it. We turned it up to 11, right? Maybe by making it one family, one guy, one place. In the future, if we couldn't do sacrifices, we could let it go. We could grow out of it. Maybe we'd figure out that prayer and meditation is better. So God said, hey, let's do something that you know how to do already, but I'm going to wean you off of it slowly so that if you don't have that to fall back on, you're not lost. We're still connected. A couple of other neat hacks that I like about the book of Leviticus, and in addition to putting the seeds of the destruction of sacrifices in the book about sacrifices, says, by the way, this isn't just about priest stuff. Puts right in the middle of it, right in the navel, the belly button, right in the center to draw our attention, Leviticus 19. Don't put a stumbling block before the blind. Don't insult the deaf. Don't stand idly by the blood of your neighbor, lest you think that the holiest thing for us is clothes and incense and blood and timing and lineage. Right in the middle of our holiest book is a lesson about justice, a lesson about interpersonal ethics, and to say that when we act out our rituals that help bind us together, that's when we remember not just who we are, but what we're for. Yeah, there's lots of rules. Yeah, there's discussions of marriage and relationships and who can touch who and who can't, who can be barred for having a disability. There are things that we wrestle with today because the wrestling is invaluable and makes us better people. They were starting over from scratch. Doesn't mean they had to give up everything they were familiar with, but it meant that they had an opportunity to make it better. Because I work in an institution in the United States of America and on planet Earth, have had lots of meetings in the last couple of weeks about how the sands of our world are shifting. To a couple of people this week, I compared it to the Marvel Comic Universe movies. And if you're unfamiliar with these, ask your grandkids. And if you're too young and you're unfamiliar with these, ask your grandparents. They have very wide appeal, these movies. But there was a part in one of these movies where this very, very big purple bad guy snaps his fingers and the world, half the world shuts down. And then 5 years later, a very big green good guy snaps his fingers and everybody pops back. And they talked about the struggle. What was it like for the people who lost? And then in the next movie, Spider-Man Far From Home, they talked about how weird was it when everybody got back together again? Right? People who had disappeared off of basketball courts 5 years later in the middle of the game, they pop back into a basketball court. And just as I remember that day where I went to meetings not knowing that by 10:32 I wouldn't be going to meetings for a while, it seems like things are shifting back faster and faster. And that's okay. In fact, if you're going to be on the verge of something new, it should be this good. It should be a good new thing. And as we're going through that, a couple of things I want you to be clear about in this for people who are in this community and wondering what's going on. And we are getting phone calls. And we are just as excited as you are for hugging, for singing together, I never knew I would miss those little bar mitzvah cookies with the waxy sprinkles on them as much as I do. And we're doing it as safely and as carefully as we have to, so that we can be together, all of us, when we get to. And yes, keep calling. We want to know that you're excited, but please be patient. As you should know, and this is just me giving you some inside baseball, there are multiple committees meeting at any given time with lay leaders and clergy and staff saying, okay, how are we going to do this in a way that is safe and in a way that is fair, so that when we open, we are open to everybody. And we're talking about what that's going to look like when the people pop back onto the basketball court. We're asking questions like, what do we miss from before? Dry, waxy cookies and singing for me, but you have your own list. What do we not miss? Only having one meeting a night because we have the space booked, and then now we can do multiple cool things every single night, and you just have to choose. What do we want to keep from this different time? I want to keep the incredible accessibility that we have never had before for people to participate in our services and all sorts of social activities and learning activities. What do we not want to keep? My eyes are square, y'all, and I'm happy to go to fewer Zoom meetings. And what do we want to try that we have never tried before? And before I conclude, I want to ask a couple of things. I want to ask a couple of favors. I want to say, what are your ideas? What's your list? What do you miss from before? What do you not miss from before? And you are glad that we've taken a break. What do you like from the last year? What do you really not like from the last year? And what would you like to try that you've never tried before? Let us know. I know I'm opening myself up to a lot of calls and emails, but I firmly believe that not one of us is as smart as all of us. And we're going to figure this out together like we have this whole time. I also, last request, want you to know, or I want you to tell us, what are you afraid of? What has changed so much for you that you're afraid it can't change back? What have you learned about yourself, about other people, that you're not sure that you're ready to be back in the sunlight? What are you afraid has changed for good that we'll never get back? God had the wisdom that in this moment in the wilderness where things had to change, so much was going to be familiar, because that's what the people needed to feel connected. Why would we reject that wisdom? And so I'm asking for your ideas. I'm asking for your truth, but I'm also asking for your patience and that you trust that wherever we go next, we're going to be there to hold your hand. And how this community comes back into the sunlight, I don't know, but I know it's going to be together, and I'm glad it's with you people. So Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being a part of this journey at PJTC. We're now going to move to our evening prayer service, Mariv, starting with our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, on page 28.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMborach Leolam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. ומעביר יום ומעביר לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
אמרי ורבי.
Amen. Continue on page 29, Ahavat Olam.
Let's join together. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Continue in the middle of page 30 at your own pace. We continue together at the top of page 31. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta lehem v'asu lehem tzitzit al kanfei bigdehem l'dorotam v'nanu al tzitzit hakanaf v'til techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני
אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם
כן,
אמת.
כל זאת יקיים עלינו, כן.
At the top of page 32, page 32. We bless God for the light that God gives us. We bless God for the constant love that God teaches us. We also bless God here for God's nature as a redeemer, remembering God saving us from bondage in Egypt, where the people once escaping Pharaoh sang, "Who is like you, our God, among all who are worshipped? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai."
We join together on page 32 if you're in the Sim Shalom. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar v'kodesh nora, tehilot osef elem malchutecha ראו עיניך בוקר היום לפני משה ומרים וכולם הזילי ענו ואמרו זילי ענו ואמרו אדוני ונאמר כי אדוני את יעקב וגאה לו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Shemo.
גל ישראל.
Amen. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace and guide us with your good counsel. Let's join together at the top of page 33 for Hashpivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו ומלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור על צאתנו ורואינו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. שלום 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 שלום. ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Shemo.
הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ואל כל עמו ישראל ואל ירושלים.
Amen. Page 34, page 34.
I'm so glad Shabbat is here. You know, Veshambro always reminds me, is it us, the Jewish people, the people who chose to practice Judaism, who kept Shabbat, or it is Shabbat who kept us? Not clear what the answer is, but I'm so glad Shabbat is here. Let's join together at top of page 34.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. אוי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברך חירותה וימליך מלכותה וחייכון ויום אחד ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויברוך.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Alal Me'an Maya Yitbarach.
יתמרח וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
Rihu.
לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה
Tushbechata
v'nechemata,
v'nechemata
daminiranu
damiranu
yalama veivaru.
Amen. On page 35b, we begin the Amidah for Shabbat evening. This is a private prayer, so we're not going to say it out loud. I invite you to rise wherever you are if you're able. And if you want to lean on the words from our tradition, they are strong. They will hold you up. They start on page 35b, but it's also a time to add any personal prayer that you have this evening. And so take a few moments to yourself. And when you're finished with your private prayer, you may be seated. And we'll get back together in just a few moments.
מודים אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, לעולם ועד. ומודים אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, לעולם ועד. צור חיינו, מגן אישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור. נודה לך, נודה לך, ונספר תהילתך, ונספר תהילתך.
We conclude the Amidah with the Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48.
יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא דברכת ומלך מלכות וחי יכון ומכון ובחי תכל בית ישראל
בגלה בזמן קריב וימרו.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לא
Me'omaya
נעלמיה.
Yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר דרו ויתנשא ויתעבר ויתערב השמי לקודשה.
Brihu.
לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בלה וימרו.
Amen.
תתקבל צלות ולמותון לכל ישראל קודם אבון דבישמיא וימרו.
Amen.
יהי שלמה משמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל וימרו.
Amen. We rise and face the Arana Kodesh for Aleinu on page 51. Page 51.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נקדש. על כן נקבל לך אדוני אלוהינו למד. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב את תורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated if you wish. This is a time in our service where we remember those who are no longer with us. This week, we are marking the yahrzeit, and that's the anniversary of the passing of Second Lieutenant Andrew Jacob Torres, Adolph Peters, Alan Gendler, Elise Bird Snow, Anna Borick, Ann Bachman, Beatrice Manning, Ben Lepuck, Benny Feinsode, Bernard Bender, Beverly Sensor, Bruce Norton, Carol Belling, Claire Weinstein, Daniel Joseph Jacobson, Dennis Browning, Dina Blumenfeld, Doris Prezant, Dottie Honowitz, Edward Gross, Edward Rimsky, Fischel Langholtz, Frederick Alderman, Frida Brown, Gertrude Holzer, Gregory Williams, Harold J. Minovitz, Harry L. Stillman, Ida Peters, Gerald Weisfeld, Joseph Radman, Joseph Weissman, Anna Lustig, Lara Alderman, Mark Alderman, Max Kemmel, Mitchell Wyman, Moses Golden, Moses Margolis, Noah Langholtz, Philip Schneider, Rachel Zwern, Ruben Bellin, Ruth Schwartz, Samuel Klein, Shirley Cohen, Shoshana Danhauser, Sophie Wyman, Stafford Calvin, Susan Idelson, Tanya Friedman, and William Weiss. If there's another name that you'd like to lift up in honor at this time, hold their name in your heart or say their name out loud, please, wherever you are. And I'll ask that if you are in mourning or marking a yahrzeit, please rise for the mourner's Kaddish on page 52. Page 52. Let's say it together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'alma divra kirute v'amlich malchute b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman kariv vimru,
Amen.
amen. Yehe
Yehi
shmei
Shmei
rabba
Rab
mivorach,
Mevorach
leolam
Leolam Ulamei
ulamei
Olmai
almaya.
Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'pa'ar v'tramam v'tnaseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei dekudsha
Brichu.
brihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru
Amen.
amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru
Amen.
amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. We just have a few, I was going to say we had a few announcements, but we have a lot of announcements, so I'm going to read them very quickly. So we have coming up lots of stuff tomorrow on Sunday at 9:30. We have our religious school. At 10 a.m. there is a social justice committee meeting. At 10:30 there is a Kadima book club. At 11 and from 11 to 1, if you've registered ahead of time, there is a Judaism in the Home matzah cover art project. I believe that's here at PJTC, sort of a drive-through outdoors, very super safe sort of thing. So enjoy that. At 1 p.m. there is a mindful meditation class. 2 p.m. there is a webinar that Rabbi Amy and I are doing called A Pandemic Passover to Remember. And this is a webinar, you have to register for it, but we had links go out, and so look for those. And it's answering what questions people have about Passover, but also Rabbi Amy and I each giving sort of our top 3 tips or so for having a hopefully final pandemic Passover that will be a joyful experience for you and all those you connect with. At 3 o'clock, USY and Kadima have talent show auditions. So there's a USY Kadima talent show. And at 5 p.m., there's a USY book club. That's just Sunday. Oh, I almost forgot. Tomorrow, everybody come check us out tomorrow, because I'm sorry Saturday's not on here, but it's in my brain. It's still Shabbat, and we are celebrating 2 extraordinary young men, Ari and Isaac Sweebish Cole, are celebrating becoming bar mitzvah, and so they will be helping with the service tomorrow. So that's happening tomorrow at 9:30. So check that out, and then all those things on Sunday, and then Monday, March 22nd, we continue to have the USY Academia Talent Show auditions. That's at 3 p.m. on Monday. And at 7 p.m. Monday night, there is a board meeting, a temple board meeting, but not just any temple board meeting. It's the installation of the new board members of the temple, and then a board meeting to follow. But these are people who've pledged significant time to this place, many of them board members continuing in their service, but some brand new board members as well. So that's going to be, in my mind, a holy occasion, these people who are the good stewards of all that we are and all that we do. So check that out, 7 o'clock on Monday. Tuesday, we have our meditation group at 8:45. At 12:30 on Tuesday, Acts, which I believe is Altadena Congregations Together Serving. That's it. So it's a great interfaith group that we have here in the Altadena area. Have a program engaging and bridging our differences. Very important. At 3 p.m., we still have a Kadima and USY talent show auditions. Those are going on, ongoing, I suppose. And then at 4 p.m., we do, in fact, have our religious school with a Passover escape room hosted by the USY. And so we did this for Hanukkah. We had a Hanukkah, sort of an online escape room where you go in together in Zoom, and using the internet, it's actually, you solve puzzles to get out of this place, and presumably Egypt. So check that out, religious school students. 7 p.m. Acts has an Engaging and Bridging Our Differences program on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Continued. Wednesday, we have a meditation group at 8 a.m. At 5 p.m. on Wednesday, we have chicken soup for the Jewish Soul Zoom cooking session. So there's a wonderful chicken kosher for Passover chicken soup thing that's going on. Check that out. Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. we have our regular Pirkei Avot discussion group. On Thursday at 10, we have Exploring Your Life Through Torah. That's at 10 a.m. 7:30 on Thursday, we have a social hall, Counting Our Days, 7 weeks of the Omer with Betsy Kahn. And that brings me to some big stuff that's coming up, AKA Passover. Let's go back to where we saw the people's faces for a second ago. We're doing something really special this year for the Omer. And we're having these sort of small group discussions where you see all those beautiful faces of wonderful teachers in this community. Each of these are leading sort of a group over the period of the Omer. This is this period of counting the days between liberation and revelation, as it were. And so on a regular basis throughout the Omer, these folks are going to be getting small groups together. And also during the Omer, I don't know why I signed up for this because it's going to be exhausting, but I'm actually super excited about it. We're going to be sending out daily messages from PJTC with a different, just brief lesson on the Omer and a chance for you to talk back. And that's going to be on Facebook and through email and things like that. So read the emails that you get, find out how to sign up for that. And so many great things coming out, especially because it's Passover week. Pay attention to your emails and let us know how we can connect with you better. We are always here for that. So with that, let's see, we have anything else going on? Nope, that's plenty. So we're going to go ahead and close our service as we began it, and that is Enjoy a Song. I'll ask you to please rise because the singing sounds better. If you can't rise, that's okay. Just sing wherever you are. And then stick around for Kiddush, would you?
Let's take a moment to stretch up a little bit. And עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, שלום, אוי 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 אוי, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, שלום, ושבת שלום.
Good Shabbos, everybody. If you're sticking around for Kiddush, why don't you grab some wine or some juice or some schnapps or whatever it is you celebrate with, grab a cup of it and meet us right back here.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
You like that, Michelle? I'm glad. Okay, let's join together. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ, וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי, מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Together. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנהי לנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו.
הנהלתנו.
ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת לחיים.
Amen. All right, if it's your custom to wash your hands before motzi, this is a good time to do that. If you don't have any washing gear, that's okay. I'll be thinking about you while I do it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. And if you have some bread, hurry up. Pesach is coming. Courtesy of Super Cool Challah, courtesy of Rabbi Amy. Let's join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avo.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good.